Welcome back to the Driveway Beers podcast with Mike and Alex. As always, we appreciate you listening. Please rate us on all the podcast platforms. Like, subscribe, comment, share wherever else you're listening, and enjoy the show. All right, welcome back to another show. Appreciate you coming back as always. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. We've noticed more people liking the YouTube videos, which is great because that's probably the only place you can actually put a like on anything, because I don't think of the podcast platforms let you like anything. You could rate us, which is great. If you give us 5 stars, that'd be wonderful. If you like the show. If you've come back more than once, definitely rate us on the podcast platforms. Want to thank Adam Chubbuck with Douglas Realty. Team Alpha Charlie is part of Douglas Realty in Pasadena, Maryland. Real estate market is still pretty tight. So if you, right now, you definitely need someone that knows their way around the real estate market. You want someone who knows what a good deal is, what a bad deal is, if you're buying or selling. So go with someone experienced in this market. Go with Adam Chubbuck at Team Alpha Charlie with Douglas Realty in Pasadena, Maryland. TechMD.com. All right, we got a few things we're going to talk about tonight. There's been a big, I don't want to say social media buildup, but for those that follow conservative news media, the Daily Wire is probably one of the biggest conservative news outlets out there. You got the Crowders, you got the Daily Wire, you've got Prager, Turning Point, and then you've got the cable news networks, which is, I think, OAN, Newsmax. I mean, Fox News is considered one, but that's more considered mainstream, not. And then Breaking Points used to be, but Sager is the conservative kind of there. And then I forgot the girl's name, Crystal Ball, I think was her name, which I think is probably fake. Yeah, I mean, girl's name's Crystal Ball. Like, right. She's really going to see in the future. Right. Okay. Probably was at one point. But anyway, like the controversy is that Candace Owens, she didn't say anti-Semitic stuff. She just had an issue with the Israeli government. And don't get me wrong, she was not pro-Palestinian either. No. It was just she said something against the Israeli government. She hosted a very popular rabbi named Rabbi Shmuley on her show. Now, and this is coming from someone who, I've got, my wife is Jewish, my kids are raised Jewish, I celebrate the Jewish holidays, most of my extended family is Jewish, right? To me, this Rabbi Shmuley guy is a whack job.
Yeah, so Rabbi Shmuley is this guy who, when you do say something bad about Israel, you're supposed to go on and atone to Rabbi Shmuley. That's how I'm interpreting how I understand it to be.
Yeah.
That when you're if you step out of line on the accepted position and you go and you interview Rabbi Shmuley, then you're able to come back into the fold. And Candace Owens did this and then didn't play along. She questioned his position. It was all of a sudden it was, bad. And then next thing you know, she's her and Daily Wire are parting ways.
Yeah. So, and I don't know exactly how it all went down because it was like 8th grade drama class. This shit was fucking, for adults to act in this manner is ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
And the Daily Wire's always kind of had that highbrow mentality of we're above it all. We're above the fray.
Yeah, well, they, Ben Shapiro and everyone on the thing would rail against cancel culture and this and that. Well, then someone steps out of line and you go and do the same thing. So, that it kind of questions their integrity when it comes to that sort of thing. If you're going to go and, someone doesn't take the official approved position on Israel, and now she's gone. So, it really kind of says, well, what's next?
Right. And I don't know exactly all of the things that were said, but from what I saw that she said, it wasn't highly offensive but the problem is when she gets called out, she gets extremely defensive and personal in her attacks back. So, like when Jeremy Boering, who owns the Daily Wire or is the CEO of the Daily Wire.
Yeah, him and Shapiro were together.
But they're backed by bigger money.
Yeah.
They're not the actual owners of it.
Yeah.
At least not anymore. There was definitely some back and forth, and Shapiro kind of acts like a little bit of a child sometimes. Like at one point he was like, well, if taking money from Jewish people interferes with your religion, then by all means quit.
Yeah.
Was more or less what he said. It's like, bro, so if you're like in any way her boss, if you don't agree with something she said, talk to her in private.
Yeah.
Don't be and sometimes he does come across very childish. Now, don't
He's actually a bitch.
Yeah,
I mean,
he kind of does. Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Like I used to during like the COVID era. I believe I like to agree with a lot of stuff that he said, not really knowing him that well, and I still kind of agree with some things that he says, but I'm also realizing that he's a very much an elitist in the fact that he doesn't relate to anyone like us.
No.
So like he was talking about Social Security the other day, and all he wanted to say was, old people who are in good health shouldn't just retire.
Yep.
You shouldn't be able to just retire and rely on Social Security.
Yep. And he said, I think his whole thing was retirement is stupid.
Correct. Yeah. And it just showed that if you're a line worker or you're an electrician or you're an HVAC person,
bricklayer
who's just busting their ass for 50-something years,
yeah,
yes, you deserve to retire. And he's probably going to say, well, that's not a person in perfectly good health. They should have, they can retire and rest. No, jerk off. Like what a lot of these conservatives never say about Social Security, because they never understood the intent of it.
Right.
It was so people. It was never going to be like an IRA or a retirement account, but it was meant so that people had something to live off of if and when they retired with nothing.
Yeah.
We didn't just throw people out in the cold and they worked for 30 years and they had
people
nothing.
Weren't starving and dying in the street.
Correct. And they didn't have to lose their homes and all this other stuff, right? Well, of course, the federal government wasn't supposed to borrow against the money being so everyone's paying into Social Security.
Yes.
It's going into a bank account with the Treasury. Okay. Mm-hmm. That money wasn't supposed to be borrowed against at 0% interest by Congress.
Yeah.
Because that's essentially what Congress did. Mm-hmm. They paid, sometimes they paid like 1.5% or 0%, depending on the interest rate, which of course, if that's all you're doing, you're literally just draining it because 1 to 2% doesn't keep up with inflation.
Right.
And then,
especially not now.
Right. And so basically it now looks like a Ponzi scheme in that all the dollars paid into it today go to people today, mm-hmm, rather than being set aside for the future, which is what state pension plans did. State plans treated it like a pension system.
Right.
They treated it like deferred compensation, mm-hmm, or a deferred retirement plan.
Or a big 401k or whatever it is.
Correct.
Yeah.
So essentially what they did was they took all the money that was being paid in, and every employee had to pay a certain percentage of their salary into, whether it was California pension plan. And that's the one thing I think California got right. I don't think California gets a lot right, but this is when they did. Mm-hmm. Their California pension system is called CalPERS. Mm-hmm. New York State has the same type of one. The Canadian government has one. But essentially they act like big hedge funds where they take the money, but then they invest it in the open market. So for example, if Congress is taking or borrowing from Social Security and putting it in the general fund and they're paying 1% back into it, it doesn't earn over the rate of inflation, whereas CalPERS and the New York State pension system and the Canadian government, they're investing it in the market and they're earning over the lifetime of the stock market, it earns 12% interest. Now, some years are less, but some years are more, right? For the most part, though, unless it was like the recession down years, which was like the Great Depression, the Great Recession, whatever it was, you were at least earning about 7%. Mm-hmm. So now think of it this way. If I am the Treasury or I'm Social Security and I've got this huge chunk of money that I was investing, I was earning 7% per year, rather than losing 1% a year, basically, because if rate of inflation is 3% and I'm only getting 1%, I'm losing 2% of my money every year.
Yeah.
Well, if you go and invest it and you earn a minimum of 7%, you're earning roughly 4% over the rate of inflation. You're growing the money. Right? We would not have had to reduce the retirement age, or increase it.
Yeah.
So it went from 57,
62,
65, and 67, depending on when you entered the labor force, right? Mm-hmm. Social Security would be flush with cash. It wouldn't be decrepit. And this is what we've talked about. I believe in government systems that work well for the people. I don't trust the government to run any of this shit.
No, because they take the money to fund their bullshit wars.
Correct.
And their defense programs and stupid nonsense that doesn't benefit anybody but rich stockholders and the donor class who don't need the money anyway, who aren't going to. First of all, if you make over $200,000, you don't pay into Social Security.
You pay into it for the first $200,000.
Right.
It's prorated though. Right, so anything you make after $200,000, you don't pay in.
Yeah, but you still get the benefit.
Correct.
Which is crazy. You're making more, but you pay in less. Like over, they gave themselves a nice little loophole in it.
Right.
You know.
So Millionaire Bob is only paying into Social Security.
Right, but
on his first $200,000.
Right, but when Millionaire Bob's able to collect it, he freaking collects it.
Yep.
And keeps his boat in the water with it, or whatever the hell it is.
Probably.
So pays to feed his horses or his peacocks that run around the fucking yard. But that's how absurd it is when there's people who are paying into this. And I love when they come out and they say entitlement reform and this and they treat it like it's a handout. Like, this is money. Now, granted, there are some people that receive Social Security benefits that don't put in, like people who are quadriplegic and kids that are that have birth injuries.
But that's technically a different program. That's Social Security disability.
Right.
Which, in my opinion, is still a good thing.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, if Social Security was invested in the market, it could probably cover that too.
Yeah.
Without any issues. Mm-hmm. I'm a fan of the safety nets. But to me, Social Security it's not an entitlement.
Yeah.
You're paying into it.
You own it. It's your property.
Right. But it's essentially a forced retirement program.
Yeah.
Or a forced retirement account.
Yeah.
Which, for the most part, if you work in certain places, you're forced to put into a retirement anyway.
I do.
And I do too.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. If I had the option of removing my Social Security contribution and putting it into my own retirement account, mm-hmm. I 100% would do it.
Absolutely.
However, there are people who will be relying upon. So if we all did that, there's still going to be people out there that aren't going to be able to do that. And I don't want to see anyone out on the street cold, especially a senior citizen or something like that. So
especially when they worked for their whole life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
So if my whatever I put into it helps somebody else live now, then I'm okay with it. I'm not, would I prefer to have that money and do what I want? I'd probably piss away on something stupid anyway. But would I prefer to have it? Sure. But, when they talk about privatizing Social Security, that's always every, neocon shit, piece of shit and shit lib that comes, they want to privatize privatize it.
But to be honest with you, that's kind of like what you just said, though.
No, it is. And that 100% is.
Yeah.
But the problem is that those people who don't have the knowledge or the abilities or the income or whatever it is to do that aren't going to do it.
No, but imagine, and again, we're going to live in a fantasy world here because this is never going to happen.
Right.
But let's say you were forced to contribute to your retirement program instead of Social Security, right? You would SSD and some other programs would still need to get paid into. Mm-hmm. But let's say you took your Social Security payment from tax and put it into a forced retirement account.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to use T. Rowe Price as an example because that's the name at the top of my head. Let's say for all of these accounts they get, they can only charge you 0.5% of your account. That's a very low administrative fee.
Yeah.
Okay. Because look, it costs them something to manage these funds. But if it earns more and people get to retire at 57 versus 62, let's say the payout's the same, right? But you now get to retire 5 years earlier. For some people, those 5 years are important.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, that might not be the best solution to this. But I guess my point is, the current solution with Social Security, one, the idea it wasn't supposed to be an entitlement program, but two, the way it's managed sucks.
Right.
So both ends of this are shit.
And here's the thing: if maybe I will go with the neocons and say, you know what, yeah, privatize it, because then you assholes can't steal from it to go fund your bullshit wars.
That's part of it, right?
And
there.
I guarantee you that's why it will never happen.
Of course not,
because you can't steal if it's not there. You can't steal from it.
I guess my own thing, like the states did it. Like a lot of these state pension plans, they're doing it the way it was intended to be done.
Yeah,
and it's like, I don't think enough people know how the whole Social Security contribution works, where it goes, and then how it's used.
Yeah.
I don't think enough people know this.
But the way they're operating, it's like if I took the money I put into my pension and the money I put into my deferred comp, and it's in there, and rather than making any interest off of it at all, I just take it out and spend it on other shit.
Right.
And then at the end I wonder, well, where'd it go? Well, we're going to have to reform it. Yeah, you should reform it when you were spending your retirement savings on dumb shit.
Right.
Like, so yeah, that motorcycle and the boat and the RV that you have, they're great, but when you're 75 years old and can't work anymore, you're going to live in the boat? Because chances are that you crashed the motorcycle and the boat broke down and the RV's leaking. So
I would love to know if the money actually ever gets repaid.
I can tell you that. I don't have any definitive answer, but we know the answer.
But I mean, technically, it's supposed to be the 0% loan, right? Yeah. And the money's supposed to get repaid back to it. I would love to see a full accounting of what happens to that Social Security.
But here's the thing: if they take the 0% loan, so say there's, just for sake of numbers, you have $1 trillion in the fund, whatever the hell it is, and you take $1 billion of it out to fund some folly somewhere on a 0% loan. That money's not making interest in there because it's out. Right. It's gone. So you put it back, like there's no return on that. So you just stole the money and gave it back later.
Well, actually, it's a negative return.
Yeah. Because
you didn't even earn the 3% inflation rate on it.
Right.
You literally just took it and spent it.
Yeah. And then I come back later and put that $100 billion back in, and then, oh wait, I need $100 billion to fund some new stupid weapon system, and I take that out again, and it just keeps coming out and going back in. So that money is constantly, it's out. It's not earning any interest. It's not earning any for inflation. It's not being accounted for anything. So it's a constant loss.
Yeah,
we'll just make you whole again. No, you did. It's like what is it? Opportunity cost.
Well, you took 100 and gave me back 80 because you didn't give me anything to fight inflation. Mm-hmm. You literally gave me less back than what you borrowed, and called it even. Mm-hmm. But I guess my problem is like conservatives don't understand how Social Security was supposed to work, or maybe this was supposed to be how it worked, and the way it was supposed to be was just a really shitty idea, versus the states came up with a great idea and made the federal government look shitty. Well, also, I don't really care. But the fact is, CalPERS, New York State, and a lot of these other state pension plans have been doing it right for a really long time.
Yeah.
Someone should have woke the fuck up.
Yeah.
You're fucking over everybody.
Mm-hmm. And even, some of the other pension funds, like the big union pension funds and things like that, they're all run the same way. Mm-hmm. So they're all run that. But here's the thing. The feds can always go into deficit spending. States can't do that.
Right, because you print the money.
Yeah.
maybe they should print some money to give us back some interest that they're borrowing against the Social Security from.
Well,
come on.
Yeah. But could you imagine the impact on the markets if the entire Social Security trust fund went into the market?
Yeah, no, and see that's the other part of the problem, right? But the thing is, though, the market absorbed the state funds, the state pension funds, and those are in the Canadian fund, and those are huge,
right? And just to give everyone my dad showed me this when he was still alive, and just because he was his line of work was international trade, so. He went all over the world. He knew about different economies and things like that. So the United States minus California is the number one economy in the world. At least when he told me this, it was. Who knows what it is now. So that's the United States minus California. California's economy is number 5. California alone is number 5. So that's a massive pension fund. California, CalPERS is probably bigger than the Canadian government's.
So I got some numbers. The largest retirement funds. The first one is actually the federal thrift savings plan. Okay. So the federal plan with all the federal employees that they put in.
Right. This is the new one, not the old federal pension system.
Correct. The CSRS was a straight pension system.
Yeah, that's what my dad retired on. So
right. The thrift savings plan, which is basically an IRA for federal employees, is the largest one. Mm. It looks like it's 7.74. So it says 774,176, but it says in millions. So I think that's trillions. Yeah. The next one is California Public Employees, which is CalPERS. Number 3 is California State Teachers, which is a separate plan.
Right.
So 2 and 3 are just in California alone. Mm-hmm. Number 4, New York State Common, which is the New York State one. Number 5, New York City Retirement. Number 6 is Florida State. 7, Texas Teachers. So this is happening all across the United States. Washington State, Wisconsin Investment Board. Then the 10, you finally got a company, Boeing.
Yeah.
Boeing is 10. Mm-hmm. 9 other ones are state.
Yeah.
11, New York State Teachers. 12, North Carolina. 13, California University System. 14, Ohio Public Employee. All of these states are doing this.
Yeah.
The federal government with Social Security, nah, we're not going to do it. Nah. Everyone else seemed to get on board. 15, AT&T. 16, IBM. 17, State of Virginia. 18, Raytheon. These names sound familiar. Yeah. 19, Michigan, New Jersey. It's literally just I'm just reading states at this point. Minnesota, Kaiser of Georgia, Oregon, Massachusetts, General Motors, Ohio State Teachers. That's 2 for Ohio now. I mean, and I'm on 27. I'll get to I'll go down to 30. General Electric, UPS, the United Nations Joint Staff. They got in on it. That's the top 30.
Yeah.
These are pension funds. I would probably guess, though, and that's just the U.S. I could always check the world because I know Canada's up there.
Yeah. But I guarantee you Canada's, if you were to take the 3 California ones, actually there's 4.
I think there's 4, yeah.
If you took the 4 California pension funds and put them together, they'd probably be bigger than the Canadian government's.
Well, and the other thing, I mean, those are bigger than hedge funds.
Yeah.
I mean, so, now don't get me wrong, they might have money invested with like BlackRock and Vanguard because they have to invest in the open market, right? But all of these states and unions are getting it right.
Yeah.
Because do you remember, I don't know if you remember back in the 80s and 90s, they were saying how all these pension funds were insolvent. Mm-hmm. Like I remember, the pensions are going to go dry. The pensions are going to go dry. Oh, well, now they're not.
Yeah.
Now, apparently someone got their shit right. Mm-hmm. And now they're flush with cash.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you've got a pension and you work with any of these, if you work for a state or local agency or one of these big companies, your pension's pretty safe.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they're, that's why I always tell people. Like,
maybe if you work for, like, the city of Detroit.
Well, maybe. But, I mean, that's why people are always like, oh, I don't know if I should put my money in the stock market. If the stock market ever collapsed, it would literally be an apocalypse.
Right. You having no money is the least of your worries.
Right. because everyone doesn't have money.
You should probably lock and load, motherfucker.
Yeah, shit's about to go down. Like it's literally that Kevin Hart meme. Yeah. It's about to go down.
Right.
So, and we got here, we were talking about Ben Shapiro and some of his takes on stuff and how he's just kind of not. He's never going to see eye to eye with people like us. Even if we were conservatives, he's not going to see it the same way.
No,
because he's not an average everyday conservative. He's a millionaire conservative.
Right, and his background, his dad was a Hollywood producer, and his mother was a Hollywood TV producer, and his dad was a composer.
Yeah.
So he wasn't watching his dad go out and lay bricks or dig ditches. His mom wasn't working night shift at a hospital. It was pretty, clean hands, cushy, not physically intensive, labor intensive employment.
And they both probably still work to this day.
Yeah. And that's where
I'm assuming they're alive.
Right. And that's where you can go and say, oh, retirement in and of itself is stupid.
Right.
You're in and of itself stupid, you dumb fuck. You've never worked a day in your life.
And don't get me wrong. Some people might not want to retire, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's why you can take Social Security at 3 different ages.
Yeah.
But I think for the majority of working people, I mean, Social Security is going to be a big part of the retirement.
Yeah.
And to knock people...
I know people who stay working, they have pensions, or they're like, I'm going to stay on until Social Security hits, or until I get Medicare, or whatever it is. So...
Medicare is the big one.
Yeah, it does factor into how they decide to live their lives.
Yeah.
And in Israel, of all places, Ben Shapiro loves Israel, they have a mandatory retirement age. So, okay, Ben, are they stupid too?
Well, and this is why I think it's all little 8th grade drama.
Yeah.
Because you got Candace being, sassy Candace. She brings on the Rabbi Shmuley guy. He looks like a complete fool.
Mm-hmm.
Ben doesn't say anything. Jeremy Boering, they're both thumbing their nose at people. It's like, and of course, then you got Steven Crowder going through his divorce. Candace should have shut up with this. I told you guys Steven was a pain in the ass or whatever. It's like, you should have you got your own shit to deal with.
Yeah.
You're not coming off as higher moral authority here.
Right.
When you got your own shit, you're about to be fired, and you're going to go out, and you're literally going to go off on this tangent.
Yeah.
Be happy you landed somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Which is a weird place she landed.
I'm pretty sure she landed that, unless it was someone else. No, I'm sorry. Sage Steele was the one that ended up with Club Random. And Bill Maher, not Candace. Candace ended up with, I forgot who she was. I'm going to check it out. Unless she's not with anyone yet. She might not be with anyone. I don't know why I was surprised Sage Steele went there.
So I listened to her on Club Random, and the way they were talking, it sounded like they were freaking knocking boots or something, because you just got that vibe. I'm like, are you guys banging somewhere? Is that where this is going? But I listened to her on his show, and it doesn't surprise. If you listen to the show, it won't surprise you. So.
Yeah, I mean, the funny part with I don't think Candace is with anybody yet, so I misspoke on that. We're probably the only people in the podcasting world that'll straight up admit when we're wrong.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
I'm wrong almost all the time.
Mm-hmm. Again, don't listen to the show for factual information.
No, never. So that's why I'm like, I caught myself in real time. Mm-hmm. I don't think she's with anybody.
She doesn't have to. She could do her own thing.
She really could.
Tucker did it. Now, Tucker's a lot bigger than she is. Tucker had the #1 rated cable news show. And I don't know if you've listened to his podcast. So he releases some of his stuff on a free podcast platforms, and it's pretty good. He did an interview with Chris Cuomo. And I don't know if you remember, during COVID, he would go after Chris Cuomo. Yeah. And it was really neat. Tucker Carlson will sit there and interview someone who you'd think there'd be all kinds of beef. The dude will talk to anyone. And I have liberal friends who will be like, Tucker Carlson's the devil and blah, blah, blah. Why? Because he questions your worldview. your worldview should be constantly questioned. You should be constantly questioning it yourself. Am I in the right position? Is this the right, take? Is that, always constantly evaluating it. But they just like to be right and be comfortable. And when someone questions it, they can't handle it. And that's what he does. But he does it to everybody.
Yeah. He's problem with him, he's got that kind of Weasley voice. He comes from money.
But he doesn't pretend that he doesn't.
Right. That is true.
He straight up says he grew up in D.C. with all these D.C. people.
Right.
So, which also gives him a pretty neat and interesting perspective on how these clowns act.
Yeah. I kind of wish, and this goes back to how media is kind of structured right now anyway. He was releasing a lot of stuff on Twitter. Is that where he's still releasing his stuff? Or he has
TCN, which is the Tucker Carlson Network. It's his own thing.
Okay.
He still does. There's still Tucker on X, and then he also releases his podcast on. So I listen to most of mine through Apple Podcasts, just because it's a native app on the phone. It's easy.
Yeah.
It doesn't crash. The Spotify app crashes all the time on my phone.
See, I don't get that with Android. Spotify's fine.
Yeah. So.
But I think a lot of these people. I think websites are kind of dead. I'm sure people are making money on websites. Like I know Tim Pool's got his website, and I'm sure people and Louder with Crowder. Crowder's got his own Louder with Crowder, the Mug Club thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the listening audience, for the most part, is listening on podcasts just because they're easy.
Yeah.
Every phone has a native podcast app, whether it's Android or Apple.
Yeah.
Which is why, literally 66% of the people listening to this show listen on Apple Podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
The other 20% listen on Spotify. And then there's like anything 8% down to 1% listen on some third format.
Stitcher or
well, I think one of them is Roku. And I don't know how people listen on Roku. I guess Roku has a podcast app.
Yeah.
And then CBS Radio app, which I think is Odyssey, but I'm not sure.
Right.
But CBS Radio is the other one. And then the rest of them are like 1%, 1%, 1%.
Yeah.
But Apple Podcasts by far is where most people listen to this show. Which I'm kind of surprised with. I think a lot of people have Spotify paid accounts. And I figured they would just listen to everything in the account they paid for. But I guess when it's on your phone, it doesn't really matter which app you open up.
Yeah.
You're going to listen to it. I'm just surprised that these guys kind of go the route of like a website and some other stuff. And I would love to get into like people that do this. I'd love to get in their head into why they do these things. Look, we've said this from day one. We don't know what the hell we're doing. We just know how to press record.
Right.
And we got good enough equipment to where it sounds like we know what we're doing. Mm-hmm. But in reality, we're still using free software to record this.
Yeah.
And we know how to upload it. Luckily, YouTube figured out how to pull in RSS feeds. And I found an app for our website that pulls it in automatically now, too. Mm-hmm. Which I wish I would have found that a couple years before. But hey, whatever. I'm living in now. I'm evolving, as the kids say. But to be honest with you, I don't think many people go to our website. They're not listening on the website.
Yeah.
I mostly use the website to say, hey, go to the website so you can click on the icon where you listen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like an easy place to put a one-pager and say, go to this and then click where you want to listen.
Right, you'd find it. And I imagine like once you get more stuff going, if you have a bunch of, inquiries as to ad sales and things like that, the websites probably help. If you wanted to post articles and things like that, it could, because some people are doing podcasts and they have a written, an article.
They have blogs, yeah. No, there is that.
So we don't have a blog because neither one of us has any time to write one. So
if we did, though, we could sell a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah,
because you can do the affiliate marketing. Mm-hmm. So, like, by the way, if anyone goes and like they go online, they type in what's the best mattress, and like you get 17 different websites that talk about all the different mattresses, and they all click this link.
Yeah.
Well, you're essentially, that's an affiliate link. Mm-hmm. And the website, the people that own the website get money based on your purchase if you purchase the mattress.
Yeah.
It's just a different way of doing sales. Instead of having a sales force, you do affiliate marketing.
Yeah.
So you don't have to employ these people. It's all commission only. But you can't trust the reviews.
Right.
Because they're going to push everyone to the place that gives them the highest percentage market commission, right?
Yeah.
Like if I'm reviewing Helix versus Casper and Helix pays me 25% and Casper pays me 10, guess which mattress is going to be better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, Helix.
Yeah.
But I just don't, for a lot of those big platforms, a lot of people, and when I say a lot of people, I'm talking about only me. I like going into Spotify and being able to listen. I've got my shows bookmarked. I can listen to all the show. It tells me when I got a new episode there. I don't want to have to go to Tucker's website and look up his show. I don't want to have to go to Tim Pool's website and look up his show. I don't want to go to Loud Crowder and look up theirs. I don't want to have to go to Jimmy Dore's website and look up his shit. I don't want to have to go find out where Kurt Metzger is.
Yeah. Now is that how you get behind the paywall though? By having a membership through there?
I think so. But then it comes like, what's behind the paywall? At that point, I'm getting probably the best content for free.
Yeah. So like Daily Wire, back when I used to listen to more, in fact, I don't even follow any of those shows anymore. Back when I listened to them, you'd go to an article or something and it would say, join the Daily Wire.
Yeah.
So it gives you like the snippet, and then you click on it and read more, and it says, to read the article, these are the membership plans. So it gives you some extra stuff. Is it worth it? Daily Wire has a bunch of stuff on there, like they have movies on there and some other things that if you're a member, you can watch. But
that's one thing I've noticed with some of these independent movies. They are all, so basically they create a website, and you can log into it and you can watch the movie. They're not releasing it in the normal fashion of, it's going to go in the theater.
Yeah. It
has a distribution company. It gets on a major streaming platform. A lot of these people aren't doing that. They're basically creating these movies.
Oh, speaking of movies, this is way off topic.
Yeah.
Was that movie Napoleon released in the theater, or was it right to Apple? Because Apple made it. Was that ever in the theaters?
I want to say it was. A Joaquin Phoenix movie didn't go to a theater. That'd be rough.
I mean, a Tom Hanks movie didn't go to the theater.
That's true. That's true.
But Greyhound was released high COVID lockdown protocols.
Yeah, yeah. So. I mean, I'm gonna do the old Google machine while we're talking.
Because I watched part of it, and it's really bad.
Is it really?
I don't like it.
I gotta be honest. I'm not a huge Joaquin Phoenix fan. Like his movies either hit really well or they're really fucking.
So I
bad.
loved him in The Gladiator, but The Gladiator was just gratuitous violence and cool.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that might be the only movie I've ever seen him in.
He was in Her, and you haven't seen that one yet.
I haven't seen it yet.
He was really good in that.
Yeah.
Was he the Joker? Was he the Joker? No.
Heath Ledger was the Joker.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Did he play anything? Was he like a villain in one of those movies though?
He may have been.
It was, so I'm looking at it, distributed by Columbia Pictures. It was an Apple original film. So apparently it was a COVID delay.
Well, if they delayed it, then they probably definitely put it in the theater then, because why would you delay it?
It was in theaters. It was released by Sony Pictures releasing Columbia Pictures before streaming on Apple Plus. So it looks like it was released on November 14th, 2023 in Paris, and then released in the United States and United Kingdom November 22nd, and then it streamed on Apple TV Plus March 1st of this year. So apparently it did. It grossed $221 million. I mean...
So I was expecting more... So Napoleonic era combat, to me, is really cool because they're still lining up across and shooting each other with muskets, and the uniforms are colorful, and there's cool music. You know, like the Brits, the British and the Scottish still use bagpipes. You know, and you had the drums and the fifes and guys on horses with swords. Like, it was still to me an interesting, you know, colorful thing. And they don't really do a whole lot. It's all like Joaquin Phoenix kind of mumbling.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't really think it was, you know, it's kind of, there's some distractions in there that detract from the historical accuracy of the movie, which I don't quite understand why it's in there, but yeah, I'm not impressed with it. I got about and it's long. It's like 3 hours long.
Yeah. So
I'm about halfway through it, and someone called me, so I talked on the phone and forgot about it. But I'm not sure if I'm going to go back.
For to be a 3 hour movie, you got to be really good.
Yeah.
Like the last 3 hour movie I sat through was The Irishman.
Yeah.
And I didn't even watch it in one sitting.
Mm-hmm.
I broke it up. I used the internet to tell me when to break it up.
Yeah. And this one, like, so when I started watching it, it was like 7:30, and it said it was going to be over at 10:24. So that's so long.
That's too long.
Yeah. Now that includes credits and all that other stuff. Like, that's the total runtime of the whole thing. So that's still almost 3 hours.
Before we talk about movies, did we wrap up what we originally were talking? What were we talking about originally?
Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro and Social Security.
Oh yeah, we talked about that. All right, back to movies. Actually, I want to talk about a TV show real quick because you turned me on to Masters of the Air.
Okay.
And I watched it, loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Sad it's over.
Yeah.
I might not agree with Tom Hanks' politics, but thank God he's still producing shit because he's the only one producing that wartime stuff.
Yeah.
In fact, I ended up I watched most of Bridge of Spies. I haven't finished it yet, so no spoilers. But even like that's well done.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the stuff that he's putting out, and it seems like lately the only really stuff he's putting out is war stuff.
Yeah.
Because he did Greyhound, and then he did Masters of the Air, and then he also Bridge of Spies I think was before that. So he's doing like historical stories, right? And I really like I really get into those movies. Like I get lost in those movies.
Right.
So, and they always say like, "Oh, you don't want to know their politics." I don't give a fuck what his politics are. Keep making those fucking movies.
Yeah.
Because that Masters of the Air was great, and I hope I don't want him to do like a follow up. Like I want him to do a completely separate topic of military history. I think that'd be great. Like
I'd like him to do a Tuskegee Airmen.
That would be cool.
Because one of the things you saw the bombers and you see the fighters, and then one of the complaints was like the Tuskegee Airmen kind of looked like they're kind of just crammed in there so that they could get some woke points. Their story is freaking awesome. It doesn't. They deserve more than crammed in for woke points. They deserve to have their story told.
I feel like they definitely crunched a lot in.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the first 2-3 episodes kind of told more of the story,
and they did cut some stuff out for budgets, and that was filmed during COVID too. So I think most of those series run like 12 episodes, and this only one went 9.
Yeah.
So
I wish they would have kind of let it run. They probably had 2 more episodes in there to kind of finish the story out.
Yeah.
I think the Tuskegee Airmen movie was already done though.
It's Hollywood. It's a lot of stupid crap.
I mean, they were reviving everything else. Let's revive that too. But I mean, I don't want it to be like was it Band of Brothers, and then they did the Pacific, which it kind of piggybacked one off the other.
So the Pacific, the thing with Band of Brothers is it followed that one company from training all the way through the war. The Pacific follows 3 different people: John Basilone, Eugene Sledge, and I forget the other guy's name, who were not together. They didn't even know each other through the Pacific theater, focusing on the Marines, because the Army did fighting, but it was most of the infantry combat was done by the Marine Corps. So it's those 3 people. Now Basilone gets killed. It's not a spoiler because it's history. Like, he won the Medal of Honor, then he went back in and got killed. The other 2 survived the war. Eugene Sledge wrote a book, and a lot of this is based on his book, but they added the 2 other people to it. So that's kind of where the continuity comes from is from the fact that they're not following one company; they're following 3 individual people through the Pacific Theater. So
I wouldn't mind. I definitely like more Navy stuff. Mm-hmm. I feel like the 80s kind of did a lot with the Army, with Platoon. Like they kind of went into like the Vietnam War.
Yeah, because like if you think about it, in the 80s, who was consuming the youngest veteran group were Vietnam vets.
Yeah, I feel like right now we're getting really good World War II stuff. Because you got, like I said, Band of Brothers, the Pacific. You got this Masters of the Air, and what was it? I think Greyhound was World War II.
Greyhound was World War II. Atlantic Theater.
So I feel like we're getting a lot of good stuff from that era. Mm-hmm. But again, I'm also someone who would eat all this up. Like you could show me a good war movie. I mean, shoot, Saving Private Ryan was great. Mm-hmm. I'm not a hard sell on this stuff, right?
I love war movies, and I like war movies and comedies because Hollywood is afraid to make any comedies anymore. Could you imagine they made Blazing Saddles today?
They couldn't. Mel Brooks would be done.
Oh, yeah. Could you imagine if they did even Superbad today?
Right.
They'd never do Superbad. They wouldn't do The Hangover. Like those movies came out at a sweet spot, and they'll never. I think comedies in cinema's dead. It's going to be remakes, and they're doing a ton of remakes.
Yeah.
And shitty animated films, which used to be awesome, but now they have to cram all this agenda stuff in there.
So I will say this: there is a TV show, and I'm going to. So I know immediately when I say this, you're going to be like, "Oh, screw it." There are a lot of subtitles. In fact, it's almost entirely subtitles.
Oh, I'll watch subtitles.
The TV show is called Shogun.
Okay, is that old?
No, brand new. They're still coming out with episodes.
Oh,
first season.
I thought that was. Is that a remake?
No.
There
might have been something else called Shogun, but this is it. It's not revisiting something else that was already made. This goes back to like the 1600s when the Portuguese had a stranglehold on Japan, trade wise. And so essentially, the premise is that this English sailor ends up finding Japan. Like they were looking for it, but they were listening. They finally found it. Half the ship had disease and shit, and died. And so basically, when he gets there, the emperor or the leader, I think they call him Taikiro or something, had passed. His heir was too young, and so essentially, power was turned over to like the five houses until the heir could resume ruling. And there's shit going on and that's the movie. The shit going on between them and how this Englishman gets involved and everything. Like I don't know if it's completely accurate, but
isn't that Tom Cruise movie with like The Last Samurai or something? Could
be. I'm not sure, but it's a hell of a show. Mm-hmm. All in subtitles, so if you don't like reading, probably not for you.
I watched the remake of, speaking of war movies, the remake of All Quiet on the Western Front in German. So it's the German film. It's in German. You can watch it with subtitle, with English, or in German with subtitles. Mm-hmm. Watch it in German with subtitles. It's so much better. Okay. And it's like, I don't know if you remember the All Quiet on the Western Front with Richard Thomas. You played John Boy in the Waltons. Okay. That was kind of corny. A lot of it's weird. Like you watch older movies, war movies. You ever notice when people get shot, they all hold their hands up. They're like, oh, and then they die. Like there's none of that. Like and like that one you could tell was like filmed in California because it's in the desert. The Western Front was not in the desert. Right. So the Western Front was known for its mud, not for its cactus. Right. But that's a good one. So yeah, I'll do subtitles.
Before we head out, we are drinking. I don't know if it's new to us, but we've had this a long time ago. And I wanted to revisit it because your palate's kind of changed more to the spicier, higher proof stuff. And so this is a 99 proof. It's the Ezra Brooks 99. And it's actually part of the Lux Row series, and I didn't realize that. Lux Row is a grouping of, I guess, higher-end bourbons or whiskeys, or it's supposed to be, right? But this is still, I think it was a $40 bourbon, maybe $45, so it's not too expensive. And I wanted to try it again tonight, and because I remember not liking it when we first started.
I like it,
and I kind of like it now.
Yeah, so it's a sour mash.
Okay,
if that means anything to you, some people it means something too.
It's got a good smell. It's got flavor. Like I taste something when I'm drinking it.
Yeah,
that's not just burn. It doesn't burn going down.
Yeah, I like it on the back end better than the front end. This is really small writing. A genuine sour mash bourbon made using the finest ingredients. Ezra Brooks whiskey has been the whiskey for those with a rugged spirit and taste for adventure. That would be us.
Okay.
Bottled in a bold 99 proof and aged the old-fashioned way in new charred American white oak barrels. Ezra Brooks is then charcoal filtered for an unmistakable, unforgettable mellow flavor. I would say it is mellow.
I don't know if it's super mellow, but I really like
for
the
a damn
flavor.
near 100 proof whiskey, it's,
It goes, I will say, it doesn't burn on the way down.
No.
It doesn't really burn on the way in. I get a lot of flavor. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I'm a fan of the flavor, but I get flavor. And compared to the Angel's Envy we had, and my complaint with that was it had no flavor.
Right.
So this is a huge improvement in my book.
Yeah, so I'm getting on the front end, and I'm really trying not to sound like a douchebag, almost like a soil taste on the front side.
Okay. That's the first thing you said after I'm not trying to be a douchebag?
But I can't describe it any other way. Like, if you open up a fresh bag of potting soil and you smell it, I'm getting that on the front side.
Maybe. I don't know. My nose is all... No one should ever go by my sense of smell.
Yeah.
Because half the time my sinuses are clogged up anyway.
Yeah.
Which is why I sound miserable.
Right. No, I didn't say dusty leather.
Right. I'm like sniffing and I should probably move my nose away from this because all I'm doing is just breathing into the camera or the microphone camera because we have those. I don't know. I'm not really getting it.
Yeah, but no, it's good. It's got some of the things, but I almost wish I could discern, like, when you read one of these reviews and are like hints of syrupy charred banana. Like, what are you talking about?
I'm getting that shit.
Like, you're full of shit. You're making stuff up.
I'm getting a nice flavor. I don't know what the flavor is.
It tastes. I'm getting hints of possum toenail. Huh? Use terms that people can understand. Like, it tastes like pizza.
I'm getting arched back camel.
Yeah.
That's the so you're getting shit smell because that's the only thing. If you go to a camel, that's all you're gonna smell is shit.
Right.
Just like it's like a cow.
And they're freaking mean. They're gonna spit at you.
That's right. It's gonna smell like wet animal.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I'm not gonna. I can't smell shit. I don't even know. I'm like sniffing it. Like I'm gonna magically smell something.
Like all of a sudden it's gonna change.
Yeah. All of a sudden, like my nose is just gonna open up like it's Vicks. By the way, I don't understand how Vicks rub works. But it works really well if you have congested sinuses. It does. That menthol, just opens you right up.
Yep.
This is not doing that. So I'm not getting any notes.
Yeah.
I do smell something. I just can't pinpoint what it is.
Soil.
It doesn't smell like soil to me.
Dusty soil.
Dusty soil. Dusty boobs.
Peaty soil. So I drank some Irish whiskey at a friend's house.
Yeah.
Didn't like it. I gave myself my standard pour, and I was like, you know what? I really wish I didn't put this much in here. So, can I pour it back in?
So we have a friend named Henry. It's the only place I've had Irish whiskey where I was like, ooh, this is really good.
Right.
He swears to me that it's just Jameson. Regular old Jameson. I don't believe him. I think he's putting other shit in there. But I want to take someone else with me and just be like, all right, Henry, pour us the glass.
Yeah.
Because I tried Redbreast 12, which is an Irish whiskey. The McKenna 10-year I don't think is an Irish whiskey, but I think McKenna does make one. But so I think I've had like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Now I've had Jameson at a bar that didn't taste anything like the Jameson I had at Henry's house. Mm-hmm. And then the Redbreast 12. The Redbreast 12. Now that I've had other whiskey, Jameson is very, very mellow. Not Jameson. Irish whiskey, in my opinion, is much more mellow than regular whiskey. It's easier to drink, in my opinion. I'm not going to say what they all taste like because I'm going to try 2. I didn't dislike the Redbreast 12, but at the same time, I didn't think anything. I kind of had the same opinion of it that I had like with the Angel's Envy. Mm-hmm. Didn't taste like much of anything. It was whiskey, I could tell that, but it wasn't offensive, but it wasn't like something I was like, ooh,
yeah,
I'll go look for this. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's probably why, like, even today, I don't have any Irish whiskey in this house.
Right.
Not that I don't want any, I just don't. Like, I want to know what I'm buying. Like, before I buy like a huge bottle of it and just keep it forever, I want to know if I'm going to like it or not. But
and the thing is, it's not for me. It's not. I think I just like American whiskey better because, like, the Irish whiskey, the Scotch, and Scotches are blends, but Scotch, this Irish whiskey I had, it was peaty. You know, just like the Scotch is peaty. There's an undertone I don't like, and it's prominent in all of them. So, or all the ones I've had.
How nose deep are you in peat moss that you know what peaty smells like?
That's what I'm thinking.
That's what you think it is?
Because the other shit doesn't have it, and then the ones that say, "Oh, it's peaty," I can taste it. So
I need to smell it then.
Yeah.
I got to put the Vicks on first to open it up, and then I got to try it because I don't smell. I smell alcohol most of these times. Now I taste differently though.
Yeah. So there's this taste I don't like. It's just like when I used to smoke, I couldn't taste it in red wine, and then when I quit smoking, I could taste this buttery flavor in red wine, and I don't like it. Same with Chardonnay. Like I most wines I don't like because there's this kind of buttery undertone that I get in all of it, and I'm not a fan of it. So
that's like me with the whiskey. The one distinct taste I get from some of these is like it tastes like soap. If I taste that, I know right off the bat I'm not gonna like it. Because who wants to taste soap, right?
Yeah.
Now, someone else tasting it probably knows what that taste is, but to me, it's like for some reason, like, what's that? Not zest. Was it zest? Like soap? Like the old. What was like?
No, I know what you're talking about. It's that lauric acid is the tastier. It's. I think that's what you're talking about.
Probably.
It's a chemically kind of.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't get down with that taste.
But if you don't like imagine if you didn't like cilantro and you're eating something. Some people, cilantro, you either love it or you hate it. I don't know anyone who's really neutral with it.
Yeah,
I love it, but some people can't stand the taste of it. So it doesn't matter how much of it's in there. If it's in there and you don't like it, you're not going to like it.
It is funny. So like, I ended up getting that Ezra Brooks 99 based off of a YouTube channel. That Bourbon Junkies channel that I would talk about, which, by the way, are very nice human beings. Like, I actually reached out, and they actually responded. I was like, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, they're doing their thing with, I don't want to say the name because I know they had name issues. So, they rebranded, but they're doing their own blends of whiskey now.
Oh, cool.
I was trying to get some. I was trying to buy some, but apparently they're only selling it. You have to go to their shop in Michigan
because that's convenient.
Well, we know someone.
We do
in Michigan.
Yeah,
I don't know if he lives close, but we might end up sending a note to Ryan in Michigan, who has been on the show, and I believe also won the Amazon gift card.
Yeah,
for the show. So maybe if he lives out that way, and I don't know how close he is, we may have to have him have a little field trip. Mm-hmm. Maybe when Ty goes out.
Yeah.
And both of them can kind of head over and pick us up a bottle.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't mind seeing what they put together. Mm-hmm. Because they're putting together blends from a consumer standpoint. So they're now selling it, but they've been consumers and drinkers of whiskey for years.
Right.
And so a lot of the recommendations they've given, like this Ezra Brooks 99 was one of them, and some of the others, their palate kind of lines up a little bit more with yours than with mine.
Okay.
But as I think I'm kind of going up in that proof range as well a little bit. I'm just a little bit slower. I would love to see how they blended theirs and just get a bottle to see if it's something we would like.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep pestering them a little bit. Mm-hmm. Hopefully not too much. I know one of them just had a baby, their first baby. So they're a little bit younger than us. Not too much younger though. But they were just cool guys. They responded to us. So I was like, hey,
because
can we get a bottle?
And this is going to sound so stupid. I love bottles that are shaped like this. I'm drawn to them.
Like anal plugs?
Is that what an anal plug is shaped like?
I think so. It's I love how you measured the top. Like, well, yeah, I guess it could fit.
Yeah. I mean, if you pushed hard enough.
I mean, it's got a little bit of rib there. I mean, it gives a little texture, but
don't fight it.
A little bit of lube goes a long way.
But no, this is, and maybe because the Buffalo Trace bottles, and I've had good luck with bottles that are shaped like this.
Holy shit! I just realized it's the same shape.
Yeah. So the Johnny Drum that I really liked, shaped like this.
Yeah.
The Traveler, which is a whiskey blend, shaped like this. And the Traveler is not bourbon; it's a blended whiskey. Now it comes from Buffalo Trace Distillery.
Mm-hmm. It gets hammered online.
Yeah,
for a lot of people do not like it.
I liked it. I thought it was good.
I think
you know what? Keep hating on it; the price will go down.
Did you drink it? Is it gone?
Of course, it's gone. Well, you know how my collection grows. Yeah, it doesn't.
It grows in reverse.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's only $34.
Yeah, it's not steep. I don't drop a bunch of coin on this stuff, so
might be one of those. Might have to buy another one.
Yeah.
If you'd like to see us drink it, go to drivewaybeers.com. Nope, sorry, drivewaybeerspodcast.com/donate, and you can buy us a bottle, and you can even let us know which bottle you want us to buy with that donation, and we will try it on air. Delayed release, of course. Yeah. It's never live on air,
right?
But we will try it while we're recording the show, and we'll let you know what we think about it. That being said, I want to thank Adam Chubbuck with techmd.com, Team Alpha Charlie, with I believe it's Douglas Realty up in Pasadena. Look, if you are buying or selling a home right now, this is not a time to do for sale by owner. It is not time to go with a new real estate agent who just got in the market and doesn't know what they're doing. You need someone who knows how to sell and also represent a buyer in this market. Adam's going to treat your money like it's his money. He's going to make sure you get the best deal you possibly can. If the deal is not right for you, he's not going to recommend that you buy. And if the offers aren't right for you, he's not going to recommend that you sell to those people. He's going to make sure you make the right decision for you and your family. And in the real estate business, that's all you can really ask for out of your real estate agent. So go to techmd.com and just shoot Adam an email. Let him know you want a consultation on what you're doing, and you're gonna like the advice that he gives you. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.